Today on CityCast Nashville, it's time for our Friday News Roundup. This week, I'm joined by our executive producer, Whitney Pasterek, and Celia Gregory, morning host at the NPR music station WNXP. She's here to help us break down this week's big headlines and tell us what we should stand in line for tomorrow at Record Store Day. It's Friday, April 11th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Celia, welcome to CityCast Nashville. First timer. Welcome.
I love it. Thanks so much for inviting me to be on. This is so fun.
Oh, it's so fun. And Whitney, always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
We want to get to some fun stuff today, but we need to start with a tragic local story that's been sparking discussion. This last week, 2 tourists from Florida who were in town celebrating their 29th wedding anniversary were killed after a stolen Jeep was speeding and hit their taxi cab at the intersection of Demonbreun and 12th Avenue in the Gulch. According to a witness, the cab had the green light when the Jeep crashed into its passenger side door. The woman sadly passed away at the scene, and the man later passed away at Vanderbilt. The driver, George Cheney, tried to flee on foot, but couldn't due to his injuries. He was taken to Vanderbilt, and the police will arrest him upon his discharge. And this man has a long criminal record of car theft and high-speed endangerment.
If people at home picture where this happened, this is smack dab in the middle of the Gulch. This is not on Gallatin or Murfreesboro Pike. This is a densely populated, really packed in urban area.
And it's hilly. Once you go through that intersection, you can't see everything. So that's especially harrowing.
Right.
I think that's part of why this tragedy really affected so many people is that, number one, we can all imagine what the scene looks like down there under normal circumstances, but it's something out of a Die Hard, and it's awful.
Yeah, it's a real tragedy. And especially for tourists, because they come here to have a good time, and then to call their family with that news would just be devastating.
Right.
And it's not just civilian drivers who are a problem. The Tennessean this week reported that in a 2-year span, Metro Nashville employees were involved in more than 1,000 vehicle wrecks, leading to $9.3 million in costs. That's according to an audit of government vehicle crashes conducted by the Metropolitan Nashville Office of Internal Audit. The report was released March 24th and found that those crashes led to substantial economic losses and personal injuries each year. And according to the audit, 6 departments experienced the highest number of crashes and related costs due to the nature of their operations and employee roles. Whitney, can you break down what departments are we talking about here?
Well, I'm going to make it into a game and let Celia guess. Celia, I think you can name the first
2. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms?
That is incorrect. Do we have a local department of ATF?
I don't know. I just thought that was like the first thing that came to mind is like, who's going to be the most reckless drivers on the road?
Maybe they're consuming the alcohol and tobacco.
Right.
Right.
That's right. Let me show you my work.
No, it is, unsurprisingly, it is Metro Nashville Police. It is the fire department, which I'm fine with. Fire department, you get where you need to be. Because that probably also includes ambulances and EMS. Metro Water, which I find interesting, like...
That's fascinating. Yes.
Where's the water emergency?
Why is water so metal? Like, what are they doing?
Hardcore.
We're laughing, but this is awful. NDOT, the Nashville Department of Transportation. Metro Parks and Recreation, which if you're recklessly driving through a park, you might misunderstand your job. And the Davidson County Sheriff's Office, again, law enforcement. But I think I would just like to say, how are civilians or tourists or our local drag racing community supposed to exhibit good, safe driving habits when the people who lead our city are not modeling those habits?
This is what I yell at all the time when I'm driving and I see a police officer go through a red light without their lights on. Just roll through a red light. Because if the children are learning to drive and they see that, then what are we going to expect for the future of them?
I was especially thinking about the parks thing. I was with somebody that wasn't speeding, but like rolled through a stop sign in a park. And it was like this hefty ticket because it was state or city property. So if there were some of the worst offenders patrolling the place or working there, it seems hypocritical.
I mean, it is clear that we have trouble driving responsibly. And I don't think we're alone in that, right? I think reckless driving is up nationwide and will continue to go up as our vehicles get bigger. It's also apparently National Distracted Driving Awareness Month.
I saw a woman reading a book the other day on the
She had her Kindle?
She had her Kindle out. And I mean, yes, we were like merging off on an exit, but I looked behind me and she just had her whole Kindle right there.
I also think, side note, like some of these electric vehicles, it seems so cool to have this digital interface, but I saw news that like the new models of cars, I think Volkswagen may be like leading this, going back to non-touch screens. And it's partly because we want the tactile, but also partly because it is crazy to think that we can have a tablet in our car and not be distracted drivers.
Speaking of the cops, like where are they in all of this? Does anybody ever get pulled over for speeding in this town?
No. The answer is no, Whitney. Cops are starting to make more traffic stops, but numbers are way, way, way down from where they were before the Gideon's Army Driving While Black report in 2016. So according to the Nashville Banner, the Driving While Black report found that between 2011 and 2015, the MNPD conducted nearly 8 times more traffic stops annually than the national average, and that those stops disproportionately affected Black drivers.
The Banner reported also that traffic stops, and y'all, seriously, listen to these numbers. Traffic stops peaked at 445,143 in 2012. But by 2019, that's a lot. That's almost 500,000 traffic stops in 2012. But by 2019, the MNPD had fully retreated from the policy, with officers making a little over 55,000 stops. In 2022, that number fell to 25,679. So we went from 500,000 to like 26,000 stops.
Drastic.
500,000 is a lot, probably too many, but 25,000, it seems like maybe isn't enough based on the amount of sort of reckless and lawless driving we all observe on the roads. Have either of you ever been pulled over for anything in Nashville? Celia laughs.
I laughed because I keep like really pressing my luck and being like, I haven't gotten a ticket in forever. I don't think I've been stopped in Nashville. I think all my traffic sins were in my youth.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, 25 years ago when I was just a wee little lad trying to learn how to drive, I had 4 speeding tickets before I left for college.
I've been pulled over once. It was right when I first moved here. It's probably like 2012, 2013. I was going over the Jefferson Street Bridge, past where like Topgolf is now. And I must have been gunning it because I think I was going like 55, 60, and that's a 40. But that's the only time. That's literally the only time. And my question is, do y'all think that it's possible for law enforcement to find a balance between harassing people, targeting Black drivers, but also helping to create a situation where people don't take the crazy risks we're seeing them take now because they're afraid that there might be an actual consequence?
I sure hope so. Like, I think especially on these main thoroughfares, you mentioned Gallatin. I live off Gallatin. I have always. I mean, it is arduous. It is backed up all the time, even Madison now. And so people, once they do get going, tend to speed. And I wish I saw more non-emergencies. Like, I see more ambulances, I feel like, on Gallatin than cops. And it feels like if you saw somebody being made an example of, you might actually curb your behavior a little bit. And I don't feel like I ever see police except for just harassing possibly people experiencing homelessness.
Well, I definitely think something should be done. I'm off of Dickerson, and so people are speeding. And then we also have the pedestrian issues here because there's no sidewalks, and a lot of people have to get around and catch the bus. So it's quite dangerous.
But the city is doing something proactive, Marie. What's going on?
Well, speed bumps are popping up all over town. Yay, speed bumps.
People love a speed bump.
We're going to get into it. The number of Nashville streets with speed bumps has jumped from 22 to 162 in just 3 years. And most people who've been interviewed about them hate them, but they do understand that it slows the vehicles down, especially in the 25-mile-an-hour neighborhoods. Celia, are you pro or con speed bumps?
as somebody perpetually in a hurry and running behind, like even when I moved to Madison, I'm like, it still takes 10 minutes to get everywhere. No, it does not. It's a 25,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So I'm always running late. But I do appreciate the speed bumps in a residential area so that you remember it's not a 55 and you can't treat it like it's Briley Parkway when there are kids and pets and people, especially in neighborhoods without sidewalks. I feel like I'm pro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As a dog walker.
I'm with you, Celia. It's a great reminder. I don't have a problem slowing down. I need to in general, just in my life. And then we just really quickly also want to shout out one more thing that's happening downtown is that NDOT is adding leading pedestrian intervals to 108 key intersections throughout the city's core. So they're jazzing up the traffic signals so that pedestrians have a head start when it's their time to cross.
That's so smart.
Because right now, a lot of these places, like one light turns red, the other one immediately turns green. And if someone's like itching to go, that's how people get hit, especially in crosswalks.
Totally.
So I'm so into this.
That seems like a really good fix because you think about people taking rights onto main thoroughfares. If somebody has just seen their walk light go and it syncs up with, they're not going to see that person on the curb. But if they're already in the intersection, they're going to yield.
Hopefully it will soon roll out to the rest of town. Like, for example, Gallatin. I mean, just running on Gallatin, I feel like I'm...
taking your life in your hands?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
You run on Gallatin? Be careful.
The only way off my street is Gallatin. I can go nowhere without touching Gallatin.
The ambiance.
The beauty. The scenic nature.
My favorite greenway in the city, Gallatin.
Those golden arches. Such a view. On to some really good news that I think many Nashvillians are celebrating. This week, it was announced that Ryman Hospitality had won the contract to operate Ascend Amphitheater starting next year, pending Metro Council approval. They beat out the two biggest promoters on the scene, AEG and Live Nation, who's been operating the venue since it opened in 2015.
We say pending Metro Council approval. I can't see this not happening, Celia.
Yeah.
It feels like this is a natural fit.
Yeah, I want to, say up top, as a public radio station, WNXP gets support from all the above, like all the players in. And we really appreciate that because in this music ecosystem, you can't just have the indies and continue to provide a service. But so socially responsible businesses that invest in public radio, major kudos and appreciation for them. But I will say as a resident, right, as a longtime concert goer in Nashville, I think it's awesome to have some local control at a venue that's, it's just celebrating its 10th birthday this year. I remember when Ascend opened, like one of the first shows, and just being like, I'm so glad we have this in our city. It felt like we were really leveling up to have it. And if we can make decisions locally at a place that's so cherished and preserve its goodness, especially, the park that's adjacent there, I think that's really smart. And I think there's enough to go around, for these other big dogs that have venues that they're booking solely. Maybe just let Ryman have another piece of the pie.
I thought it was also really interesting to see Ryman Executive Chairman Colin Reed say that one of his goals is to activate the venue more than just the 30, however many concerts come through every year. It just sits there empty the vast majority of the year. And it is on that wonderful, beautiful riverbank spot. He said he wants to use it in a more compelling way. I don't know what that means, but I like the idea that maybe even in winter, something could be happening there. Maybe a skating rink. Well, I don't know. I'm making that up. He also mentioned that one of his goals is to be more inclusive in terms of bookings, understanding that he's got to cater to tourists and locals. And to your point, Celia, about that park, I love that they are also committed to keeping the Greenway open, because that has been a big point of contention for our cycling community, is that you just never know when you're cruising through downtown and all of a sudden there's a fence up. I have a question, though. Something they talked about was that it's going to be open room booking. Celia, do you have an understanding of that? Essentially, it means that indie promoters can book the stage now, too. Why is that not the norm?
Well, because where there is control, there can be control. They want to use it, right? I think this seems good for the fan and for the artist to be to have a more, I wouldn't say even, but a more open playing field for the booking. I think that's smart. I mean, because you don't know if your next favorite band is going to be one that's heavily supported or is not, and so you want the indies to have a chance to play these cool spaces. And you all have seen, this is a sidebar, but how somebody that's super, maybe has 2 songs out, goes viral on TikTok, and then they're playing Ascend size venues. They're making a leap from a, high watt or OG basement size space to the very next summer, a send-worthy number of fans, and they might not already have the backing with the apparatus that would allow them to play that space, but they deserve to play that space because the fans would show up. And so I feel like I'm not the expert on this. I'm really not. I'm more of a concert goer than I am music business pro. But I want to see everybody everywhere. They fit.
I also think it's great that the Ryman folks are committed to financially supporting our newly created Tennessee Live Music Fund, which is designed to help exactly the kinds of indie performers and promoters that hopefully will get a boost from this. According, again, to the Nashville scene, the decision to give the bid to Ryman Hospitality drew praise from Music Venue Alliance Nashville, which is a local advocacy group. We've had Chris Cobb here on the podcast talking about 615 Indie Live. They're founded to promote those local venues, promoters, and festivals. And they said on their Instagram, quote, pretty dang cool to see Ryman publicly double down on their investment in the local community when it comes to the future of Ascend. This is a great thing for Nashville's local music ecosystem and a great thing for Nashville.
I can hear Chris saying that. It doesn't read like a press release. I can hear him say, pretty dang cool.
Tomorrow is Record Store Day.
Woo!
Woo! And Nashville has such a great mix of indie stores, Grimies, The Groove, Vinyl Tap, many more. This is a day designed to celebrate how awesome they are. And every year, hundreds of artists press exclusive vinyl releases to help get fans in the door. Celia, you're an expert in what the cool kids are listening to. Which releases are at the top of your chart this year?
Well, I'm actually the resident old classic rocker that shocks and awes and pairs, a new pop girly with. And here's Velvet Underground. Yep. Nobody asked for this.
I
want to
love
play
it. Oh my gosh.
So that's really what I love about Record Store Day. I'm going to flip your question because we have like a Billie Eilish, Charlie XCX, small release, which is cool. And these are what, people will line up for because they want every single piece of merchandise and music from these artists they're obsessed with. But then you have the collectors that are from other generations that are like, I'm so glad the Grateful Dead keeps getting reissues on vinyl. There's a lot of classic alternative groups on the list this year, and more like 90s rock is classic rock. I mean, it is like,
I don't like that. No.
Like,
I got
up,
so
Celia.
mad at Fridays by the River last week because they had a cover band on site that was supposed to be classic rock, and the literal first song they played was Flaming Lips.
She turned to me.
Ouch.
But I was paying rent when that came out. How can that be classic?
Listen, I am very aware all the time going to shows with these kids, and I'll get a excuse me, ma'am. And I'm like, neat.
Thanks.
Because I am now the elder statesman. I'm playing things from 2004 that I'm like, seems like yesterday. And I was in college spinning this, and that's a record that's 21 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, suffice it to say, there's really special releases. And what I love about Record Store Day is it is a blend of genres, generations. And so, families could go together and they have their shopping list and they're all going to get something they want. And I think that's really sweet about it. And of course, I love the idea that you're supporting a local business. There are a lot of indies that we love on this list, like MJ Linderman has a record, a lot of local significance too, of Brittany Howard has a live release, Medium Build, who we've really enjoyed here and we've had play live in our summer series last year. And he's really on this up and up. He has a special release, Sixpence None the Richer. Don't you forget about them.
Whoa.
I know. And actually, this indie band from Australia came through when they weren't on tour, and we got to have them in our Sonic Cathedral. They're called Royal Otis, and they were working on something here. Turns out they were working on recording this live special in Nashville session. So that's cool for Nashville fans of this band that there's a recorded in Nashville release. I could go on. This list is huge. You guys know, recordstoreday.com. I mean, you could spend all of your savings and more.
Celia, if you're standing in line, what is the one thing that you're supermarket sweeping yourself to first?
I really love live releases. I love the Meters. I'm a big New Orleans girly, and they have a live at Great American Music Hall, San Francisco, double LP release. I feel like that would be something I would go home and immediately spin and be just so happy. And a go-to,
Oh, the Meters are great. Okay, Marie, we all know your answer.
I'm sorry, Celia. I'm a huge Swiftie. What can I say?
Don't you apologize.
So I'm pumped about this 7-inch Fortnite Tay-Tay, a nice 7-inch white album from Taylor Swift.
Well, Tay-Tay was Record Store Day ambassador last year. This year's Record Store Day ambassador is, wait for it, Post Malone. And then I'll just say that the record that I'm most excited about, this will come as a surprise to no one, Rage Against the Machine, live in 1993. Let's effing go.
100%. 100%. The live releases are the best. And like I said, I mean, that's classic rock, Whitney. I'm sorry. Classic rap rock.
Stop it.
Oh, as a side note, yeah, Post Malone is the ambassador. And there, of course, is still like always a Nashville tie and a something tie, even if you don't like love his whole catalog. What he's releasing on Record Store Day is the tribute to Nirvana.
Celia, where will you be hanging out?
You know who does it really well, and it's nice that they're both in East Nashville. Also, I rarely cross the river. I will for special
we don't
stuff.
either. You're fine. You should be on the show more often.
Well, okay, let me start across the river then. McKay's is, of course, having a lot of releases, and there's a lot of room to walk around in there. But they're also doing this special Grateful Dead poster for the day, and I think that's cool. I saw that. Also, Third Man is going to they have an Elvis Costello live release on their label, which is cool. And they'll have other titles and they'll have music starting at 1. So I might pop over there. But mostly I tend to hang because these two record stores do it so well at the Groove and Vinyl Tap. And I don't know my exact trajectory, but they both also enlist like vendors and things for charity. I saw that at the Groove, they're going to have Nashville Humane Association adoptable puppies. Okay, I guess I'll just live there now. You know, like
I'll just hang out. Puppies and records.
Puppies and records. And, you know, when I was talking to Mike Grimes last year, he said, quite frankly, at the Grimes location now, yeah, they have space to like have a voter registration booth and stuff, but they've decided not to do live music in recent years because these other shops are doing it really well. Like, let's have this, you know, we scratch each other's backs. We can all sell records, but let's have the events be in the places they're best hosted. And the Groove has a great backyard and big, tent space, and so does Vinyl Tap inside and outside stages. So I'll probably be bopping around those.
I will note, though, that because another release that's coming out is the Replacements Tim reissue. Yep. The Replacements, I'm fine with that being classic rock. I'm okay for some reason. That's fine.
It's cuspy. Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine, no. Replacements, fine. A local cover band called the Hip Replacements will be there doing Replacements covers at Grammys. And if you've ever heard live music in that old church, it's a gorgeous place to hear music. So definitely bring your lawn chair, though, if you're going to Grammys, because that line is going to wrap around the block. Okay, last question. Celia, this holiday was invented back in 2008, and that was a time when indie record stores were really struggling. And it has worked, I think, beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Do you think that Record Store Day is still necessary?
I do. And I think it's because of what we've just outlined that it's become a celebration of not just the format of vinyl, but like the idea of a record store as a community hub. And if you are bringing people in that might not shop, I don't always buy releases on Record Store Day. I've been on the record saying I have to sometimes pick two roads diversion of wood, and I spend my money on concerts. I love the experience. I don't have a huge vinyl collection. Now, there are special reasons to go. So maybe the in is the Folklore, a 7-inch, but then you're going to have a real good time and bump into neighbors you don't always see. And that's like your community. It's a perfect holiday for Nashvilleians to celebrate because that's what we do here.
I agree. And that is tomorrow, Record Store Day. But tonight, folks, we have Fridays by the River again. Yay! And we're going to be there drinking our CityCast lager.
Ooh, you have a special beer?
Yes, they made us a beer. We're the presenting sponsors of Fridays by the River, down by the river. It's not in a van.
That's where it is.
In a van.
It's down by the river in Shelby Park. All proceeds go to benefit Friends of Shelby, and it's hosted by our friends at East Nashville Beer Works, who were kind enough to pretend like they made us a beer. So they'll take something delicious and rename it CityCast Lager again tonight.
I'm in for the bit. I love it. And it probably tastes better when you know that, it's related to this pod.
I know, in our special cups. So, folks, please come out. Live music from Improper Bluegrass. There's food trucks on site. Bad Luck Burger, Magmile Pizza, Lady Dog Smoking Butts, and Kings of Pops will be there.
Just King of Pops, just one king, singular king.
Oh, King of Pops, King of Pops.
There can only be one.
There can only be one. And we'll be there. So y'all come say hi. We'll have stickers and our sparkling personalities. Celia, you should come.
I would love to come, and I love that gathering. I mean, just goes to show, like, spring in Nashville, boy, do we strike while the iron's hot, or not hot yet, right? Like, we're trying to maximize the spring weekends because we know summer's going to be something. And so let's hope we have some good weather for both of these back-to-back gatherings. It's so fun.
It's going to be great.
Oh, yes, I know. Big weekend in Nashville.
Thanks for having me. So fun.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome back anytime.
Okay.
And everybody, y'all get out there and make sure that you're listening to Celia on WNXP, our amazing NPR music station. It's a terrific mix. Like Celia was saying, you will get the Grateful Dead brushing up right against some band that you've never heard of from Scandinavia. So it's awesome. And
thanks for helping me build my playlist for tomorrow.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Thanks, Celia. We appreciate you.
Thanks, y'all.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson. Our executive producer is Whitney Pastrek. Our producer is Daniel Sumstein. Our Hey Nashville newsletter editor is Margaret Kingsbury, and our theme music is by Prof Jenkins. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!